Welcome to the Brews and Appraisal Views podcast, where we blend the art of appraising with a touch of insight and a dash of humor. Whether you're a trainee, a seasoned professional, or just curious about the appraisal world, you've come to the right place. So grab your favorite brew, relax, and join us for some expert tips, real-world stories, and valuable advice to help grow your appraisal business. I'm your host, Dan Lindeman, certified appraiser serving South Florida for over 20 years. Hey, welcome back, appraisers. Today we're going to dig into a question a lot of appraisers have asked at some point in their career. Is getting an appraisal designation really worth it? You've probably seen those letters after somebody's name, MAI, SRA, ASA, RAA, MNAA, and wondered, do they actually make a difference? Or are they just expensive like alphabet soup? So today we're going to have three appraisers. Bear with me because it's the first time I'm doing multiple guests, so please bear with me. Two of them have earned their designations, and one of them is in the process of earning their designation. So we wanted to cover some different perspectives on what the process is like, what the costs are, and what it really does for your business. And we'll cover which designations are out there, and then we'll cover each other's personal story as well. I'm going to represent the undesignated appraiser in this podcast, by the way. And all three appraisers are certified generals, and I'll let them introduce themselves. Well, we can start with Jack first.
Hi, thank you very much. And my brew of choice is coffee today, so sorry to let anybody down. My name is Jack Lavoie. I'm from actually the Northeast. You can tell by the Boston accent. And I migrated to Fort Myers in 2019 full-time. I am certified general. However, my practice is residential. Do a fair amount of lending work, but I do a lot of non-lending work and specialize in some of the tough stuff. Love complex work, love specialty work, litigation. We do a lot of estates, divorces. FEMA 50 is big where we are with all the storms and so many properties in the flood zone. That's what I do.
And Jack, what designations do you have?
I have the SRA, and which is the residential appraisal designation, and then the AI-RRS, which is the residential review designation. So,
all right, awesome. From Appraisal Institute,
right?
All right. Well, why don't you take it away, Ernie? Then, not designated from the Appraisal Institute. Go ahead.
My name is Ernie Ramos. I am a certified general appraiser in the Chicago area. And we, as far as designations, I have an IFA, which is an independent fee appraiser, which merged with the American Society of Appraisers in, I would say, I think it was early 2018, I believe they merged, or maybe it was a little bit after that. So I have an IFA and an ASA designation, and it's residential driven. But again, I'm a certified general. We do a lot of focus on residential as well, similar to Jack. But we also do a lot of multifamily, a lot of vacant land, some small mixed use stuff, and more like mom and pop types of commercial and small industrial. Nothing really huge. And I would say still about 70% of my work is still in the residential area under 5 units.
Cool. And Carlos?
Hi, my name is Carlos Rodriguez, commercial real estate appraiser, certified general in South Florida. Been appraising since 2018. Actually, I started off on the brokerage side in 2016, and then I pivoted into the commercial real estate appraising in 2018, and been doing that ever since, and mainly in Miami, Florida, but cover the Tri-County area. And it's a great market here, specialize in industrial, retail centers, office, multi-tenant offices. South Florida, Miami's been a really good real estate market. So,
and you're pursuing what designation?
Yeah, so currently I'm pursuing the MAI designation. So I'm a candidate for the Appraisal Institute, and so that's what I'm pursuing.
All right, cool. Again, thanks everybody for being here today. And for our listeners who may not know what appraisal designations are out there, I'm just going to cover a few. These may be some of the biggest ones. They're in no particular order. But we have the Appraisal Institute. They have the MAI, which is basically for commercial real estate. The SRA is for residential. And then the AI-RRS is for general review specialists. And then the AI-RRS is for residential review specialists. We have the ASA, which has the ASA designation, an accredited member designation, and then a personal property designation. The National Association of Realtors actually has some designations as well. Actually, you know what? I have that RAA designation. I don't pay for it anymore, but I have that at one point, which is for residential appraisers. And then the GAA, which is for general accredited appraisers. And then the independent fee appraisers merged with the ASA. So they're no longer there, but they still have their designations from the past. And those are the most of the big ones. Are there any other ones out there? Besides memberships, I guess, like the MNAA is a member of the National Association of Appraisers, just a membership designation.
Right.
And then maybe some associations, but I think those are the major ones.
There's a few mail order ones, but
so what's the process like? So I know, Carlos, you're the one that's going through this right now. So what is it like for you now, the process to get this?
Yeah, so I would say it's a very intensive process, a lot of dedication, a lot of hours, a lot of studying, and yeah, the process for, let's say, the MAI, there's coursework, so it's a mix of different avenues. There's coursework. There's experience, so you need a specialized experience. And then there's also examinations, so you can say there's 3 parts to it. And yeah, the coursework, there's about 4 MAI level courses that you have to take through the Appraisal Institute. And luckily, I've been able to travel around the country because these courses are held in different places. In Chicago, I've been to Chicago, been to Houston, been to Nashville to take these courses with AI instructors. Then after the course, you have an exam. And so then that's one part of it. The other part is specialized experience, which you need a total of 4,500 hours, which is pretty big commitment of dedication to the craft. And so that's kind of the experiential aspect. And then there's the taking examination. So then that's currently in the process that I am in right now. I was able to taking the examinations, and one of them is the general course. Then there's the income, the cost, and then the sales. So it's 4 different exams. And there's also another aspect to it that's called the demo report, which I was able to recently complete. And it's basically doing an academic appraisal report and submitting it to the Institute. And you get graded and regarding that. So thinking about it a bit more, yeah, it's a pretty deep commitment to focus and achieve the designation.
So how long would you say it's going to take from start to finish?
Yeah. So the Appraisal Institute gives you about, I think, a 5-year window. And I think on the fast track, it'll probably take about 3 years. So I would say between 3 to 5 years to get basically get those 4 courses, get the demo report turned in, pass your 4 exams, get your experience while also producing, right? We have to produce. So it's, typically seen between 3 to 5 years to get your designation.
So, Jack, you're with your SRA is with the Institute as well. Does that sound like how long it took you to earn yours? What was the process like? Was it similar? At least when did you earn it? How long ago?
Sure. I finished and was finished in 2015 as far as my SRA, and then the review designation was added at a later point. But very similar. I think the residential path is going to be a little bit shorter because I think I think there are some more specialized courses. I agree with him that it's very intense. I will say this, by going through the process, it'll make you a better appraiser, let's say residential. The courses are top notch, and each one of them you're tested on. You're tested on each one of the courses going along. We had a similar. I didn't have to do a demonstration report, but what we did was we had a demonstration report class that was 5 days, and we actually wrote it in class, the different modules. For instance, when you're doing a single family and there's that little box that says put in the rent and the GRM and it calculates out and there's your income approach. Believe me, that's not how I would do it, but that's on the form. Well, we actually had to do a single family demo report, but we had to essentially write a whole, several page analysis, rental comps, GRM development, so every section of the report was a module to do a demonstration report. It was pretty intense. And then there was a peer review. I had to submit a bunch of my reports. They picked reports just like a new candidate for licensing might send in their log. They sent in a log, they picked 3 reports and they went through and asked you about it. Why did you do this? Why didn't you do this? And that was a good process. I remember my interview and it went well. But yeah, it was very rigorous, but I got to tell you, you go through it, you'll become a better appraiser. And the other thing I'll say is that when I was done, I felt like I owed it to myself to do better work after that. And and I think my career changed after that.
So it made you go to a higher level,
higher standard to myself, and it was a self,
reflection
that I realized, and it opened the door to other opportunities that I've had. So.
Nice. And Ernie, how about you? How long ago did you get your designations, and what was that process like?
It was about 2019 was when I received it. The process is a little different. There isn't any specific coursework I had to take because I already have, I went through the certified residential classes and process and got residential certified, and I also did the certified general process of getting certified. So that was in a short time in the late 2000s or, before 2008 or so. But my classes, all my certified general classes were with the AI and really advanced. So I think any classes that it would require that I more than had them for the residential side of these designations. So it was the process. It was an application process. Getting a sponsor in the organization was part of it. What else was part of it? There was some ethics classes that I had to take, or an ethics class. And I think that the main part of it was the demonstration report and peer review. So, it was produce a narrative appraisal of a single family property, or not even necessarily single family, narrative appraisal of a residential property, and producing, evidence and display of all the approaches, kind of like Jack was saying. You're really, really doing an income approach on a single family property, I think was what I did on that one. And really breaking down rental comparables and where you derived your GRM. And not that I don't do that in the income properties I do, but it's not super common in single family either. And, even the way you had to do the cost was was a lot different than filling out the form. And the highest and best use was, real extensive. And, and granted, we try and do that in our day to day, or if we're doing single family lending, but, it's really, really performing these approaches and displaying your work and supporting every real aspect of it. And when I picked the property to do, I didn't realize that I had to do an income approach on it until after I submitted it. And then I would have chosen something different. I would have given them a multifamily just to mess with them or something, to where I already had all that information and evidence in there, or picked a property that was a rental market. But I did something with like a kind of upper end single family property that there was no rentals around. So I kind of had to redo some of the report. It was a little intense, but the peer review process is pretty significant. Like kind of like Jack said as well. Like, I haven't had a mentor in a while. Mine passed in 2012, and even though I was on my own, I haven't had many critique my work in a long time, or to show me where there might be holes. And but just that process brings you to a different level, and that's kind of it. It was a long process to get that approved in that demonstration report, and but that was it. Me having all those classes made it so I didn't have to take a bunch more, but it's probably a lot easier because I've looked in the SRA. There was times I thought about being, going into the MAI program when I was with my mentor. But I have a passion a little bit for the residential side too. So I just thought that the ASA one, because I had a relationship with the IFA people because we had a Chicago chapter, and before they merged. So I thought that was a good fit for me at the time, especially because I knew they were merging with a bigger organization. And I wasn't necessarily sure that an SRA would advance my, just that I already had a certified general, and I would have to go back and take additional AI classes. And, it's still maybe an option for me in the future, but that's the process for me with the ASA.
So you think your biggest challenge was the peer review or the demo report?
Yeah, the demonstration report, I think.
And Jack, you thought the same thing, that process?
Yeah, mine was a little bit different though. I didn't have to pick at the time. I think there's several options you do. It was a course. There was a large case study. We had some data, and we had to write. We had to take the information and write the report. For instance, neighborhood, right? Neighborhood description. We had to write an extensive neighborhood based on information, market conditions. Site analysis wasn't, it's on, public water and sewer and it's level. I mean, it was an extensive.
And that was done in a class together as
in the class, but when I say in the class, it was there was a lecture during the day, and you spent from 5 o'clock that night to midnight, and you got up early. It was grueling. It was tiresome.
5 days? Is that what you said it was?
Five consecutive days. Was in Chicago, Ernie. In Chicago, and it was long hours and writing and no template, no stuff. You started with a blank Word doc.
Wow.
And at the end, you wrote. It was essentially a narrative appraisal. We submitted them individually as like 10 different modules. Of neighborhood and assessment. Neighborhood description, market conditions, site analysis, improvements analysis. I don't have to go through them all. I think anybody listening to this podcast knows the elements. And we were graded on each, and then reconciliation, of course, bringing it together. So, but it was a good experience. It was a good experience.
And so why go ahead, Carlos? What's up?
Yeah, I just wanted to add something. So the demo report, the Appraisal Institute, I think the past 5 or 10 years, I think traditionally it used to be there was kind of one way of doing the demo report, and that was basically on, like, as an appraiser, you're working your full-time job, and on your free time, you can just work on the report on the side. And some appraisers, that would take them a year, 2 years, 3 years. Some people would postpone it a lot. So I think about 10 years ago, the Appraisal Institute started this capstone program, which is a kind of hybrid program where you can do the demo report. You can start the demo report remotely where you live, and then you fly into Chicago, which I recently did, and for about a week you're there finishing your demo report. So it's an accelerated path, and that's something, let's say, newer that's occurred over the past 5 to 10 years, and it's been helpful for appraisers that we tend to be very busy with deadlines, and we can kind of just focus in these 2 months of dedicated focus on our demo report and get it completed. So I was able to go that path, which is a path of doing the demo report. And yeah, it was very intense. I flew to Chicago. I was at the headquarters there at the Appraisal Institute. I think it's 200 West Madison, if I recall correctly. And yeah, and yeah, it was a whole week of very intense focus on finishing the demo report, and I was able to complete it. And yeah, very, very intense. So just wanted to share how those kind of different options exist now.
So regarding that, let's go back to the start. Why did you want a designation? What drove you? Was it a mentor? Was it you personally? What was the decision to get your designation or pursue it?
Yeah, for me, several reasons. One, my background, I have a quite academic background. My undergrad, I studied philosophy, and then I did graduate school. So I've always felt very comfortable with just academics and learning and taking courses. So it fit very naturally when I started when I became an appraiser. It fit very naturally, kind of taking the courses and learning about your craft. So I really enjoyed that aspect. And I think me personally, most importantly, are the mentors in my professional life. I've been mentored by MAIs, and just seeing their level of professionalism and just their deep knowledge of the appraisal theories, and it's always great because by nature I lean very academic, so it's always great to like, let's say I'm appraising a multi-tenant industrial property, and I might have some let's say the highest and best use. There's some questions there, so it's always nice to be able to reach out to a MAI buddy and kind of get his thoughts on it. So for me, I've learned a lot from my commercial appraiser mentors, and many of them, almost all of them, have been MAIs, and they've always been very nice, very generous with their time and sharing their knowledge.
So you just want to follow in that path, like that. This is working out well for them, and so this is the path you follow.
And yeah, definitely, and yeah. So been cool. Kind of that. That's been my path.
Nice, Jack. What'd you get first, the SRA or the review one?
The SRA, and once you have one of them, and usually people get the SRA first, there's a relatively straightforward or short path to the review. In other words, you don't have to take you've already taken most of the classes, and then you just basically take a few review courses. But the reason why I did it was I have been appraising since 1991. I tell everybody I started when I was 15, but don't do that. And I'll be honest, I started to get a little burnt out, and maybe a little underappreciated the fact that it's just I was putting out widgets, working for the banks, and I decided I want to do more private stuff, and I thought about it, and I decided that there was an appraiser in my market who similar experience, and he had got designated, and he was doing more private work, and he kind of inspired me, and I decided to do it. And all of a sudden I got re-energized. I started to, thinking that I was this great appraiser, and boy, it was things I learned by going through the process. And all of a sudden I became more proud of what I did, and therefore my quality of work got better. And when your quality of work gets better after you get designated, you start approaching different types of assignments, and the way you communicate to lenders is with more confidence. And it just opened up. It was a turning point. It was the turning point from being just another guy to where I feel my career has been evolved into. And I feel like I'm a accomplished appraiser. I feel like I'm somebody that if you have an appraisal evaluation problem and you need to get something done, and that I'm the guy to call. And that probably wouldn't have happened if I hadn't gone through the program.
Awesome. Ernie, how about you? What's the why did you choose this?
What's the reason? So the guy that got me in the business, he's a family friend of my dad since they were little kids. His brother was my dad's best friend. He was an IFA guy. He was a residential guy, so he was a designated independent fee appraiser. And he brought me in somewhere around 2004. Well, I didn't last super long with him because I wanted to learn more than he could teach me, and I think I was helping him more with his tech than actually learning how to be a residential appraiser. Great guy. But after about 6 months, he could see I was hungrier for more. So I met his friend who was an MAI when I was taking my initial trainee tests. And he was the former director of the assessor county in Chicago. He was like a big time litigator, super established guy in the valuation industry in Chicago, just known for doing very complex stuff. But I kind of got thrown in his office after about 6 months of doing some residential, mostly field work and partial form filling. And so, and in that first couple days, of not even ever completing a residential appraisal from start to finish in those 6 months, because it just wasn't my position. It wasn't what he wanted me to do yet. I'm doing narrative commercial appraisals, because I got thrown in his office. It wasn't a choice, and it wasn't why I got into the business. But next thing you know, I'm learning from kind of a master, and he was, like I said, he was an MAI. So I worked with him for about 6 or 7 years. I did, without his approval, get my residential certification without asking him. Not that I needed to, it's that I didn't want him to pay for my education, because he offered, but I needed to survive. And it was in 2006, somewhere around there, where everybody's making a bunch of money in the in the real estate industry, and I'm slaving 10, 12 hours a day learning commercial, not making any money, and doing split fee stuff that would take 2 months to get paid, things like that. And while everybody's running around, making cash, collecting COD, doing 3 houses a day, and I'm just like sweating in an office, smelling like cigarettes. And I'm like, so what I would do once I got residential certified, I started, and I learned a bunch from him. I was able to do some residential on my own. So if I could do a couple residentials a week, then I could sit and devote most of my week to him, and learning and doing, more certified general related stuff in his office, or even if it was litigation residential that I was helping him with, that's what I was doing. So, we stayed really close. He taught me a ton. It just influenced me a ton. And, the market crashed, in 2008, 2009 or whatever, but I still worked with him and did some of my own stuff and stayed really close. But at that time, he wanted me to get my MAI, but I was still in this realm of trying to master the residential space first. I was just an okay residential appraiser still. I didn't.
I'm still one of those.
Yeah, I wasn't. I wasn't great yet. So I needed to kind of perfect that or know every aspect of it to be comfortable with it to really then move on if I wanted to be, a good commercial appraiser. So I did get my certified general soon after that, and I followed his path, and I took AI classes, which were super tough and similar to the designation classes. I'm sure that they're tough. They're hard. You learn a ton. Their classes are top notch, and the instructors are top notch, and what you learn is invaluable. But at the time, he wanted me to get my MAI, but I did a lot of residential. I kind of felt like I had a passion for that a little bit more. Though I was doing some commercial, it wasn't very efficient in his office, so it wasn't very fun. So I would go to these AI events, and I was 27 years old. So, I didn't belong in the room with these people.
Because they were old? Is that what you're getting at? They were really old?
Corduroy suits, and most people were over 60. So I felt really out of place. And
Hey, Ernie.
This is 20 years ago, though. You weren't there yet. And I'm not in my 20s anymore. I'm far from there. So I'm going to be there soon. But anyways, I just didn't feel like it was a place for me, especially still doing residential stuff, So I didn't pursue that MAI path at that time. And he passed away on me on a kind of fast in 2012 when, I always thought I'd have him for another 15 years from now to reach out to, whether we were working together or not. We would be making each other better by now. But I lost him. So I lost my connection with the Institute at that point. And back then the residential space was really weird and being taken over by AMCs. So, they didn't do a lot for the residential space back then. It was still very commercial orientated with the events and the stuff you see them kind of fighting for or not fighting for. Unlike now is a lot different, but so I just lost my connection with the AI, and I just kept plugging away from there. And, after 2016 or 17, I was doing a lot of lending, single family lending work and kind of like Jack was saying, you get burnt out with that. And I had some issues with some clients or they had issues with some of my appraisers, and volume would fluctuate. And I had a young family at that time that I just started. And the fluctuation of lending work in the residential space is tough to deal with because, if you're dealing with it based on the market or interest rates, you're super busy one month, the rates change, or you might get blacklisted for not making a contract price. Then it's really low the next month. So, 2017 or so, I switched my business around to focusing on more private type appraisals, whether it be divorce and estate or litigation. And we do a lot of multifamily and trying to focus a lot there. So I needed to elevate that a little bit. And, it was just a pivot point of changing my business to just mainly focusing on single family lending work in volume to being something else, and doing something better. And, I became close with the sponsor that was running the Chicago chapter of the independent fee appraisers at the time, which was merging with the ASA. And he was a teacher of mine and a USPAP instructor. And, and I just started the process, and it was probably a year and a half or 2 years total, just with the application process and submission of, certain documents, and then the demo report, and then review, and and then getting that approved. So, I kind of got 2 designations in one, because I started the process with the IFA and then finished it with the ASA. But that's kind of why I chose.
All right. And do you remember how much it cost? How much did it cost you to get that designation, and how much is it per year? Does it cost yearly to keep that?
Yeah, so I think it's around $750. It's similar to like MLS dues, and everything of mine comes in January. Like it's all due January 1st. So you better.
That's $700 is a bargain.
Yeah.
How much is what's your SRA and the other designation? How much does that cost you, Jack?
I want to say, I forget the exact amount on the top of my head, but it's like $1,400 a year.
Oh wow! It might be.
I will say this, right? I'm a call it the way I see it kind of guy, and not everything is perfect, and as far as AI and everything. I think it's worth it to get the designation. I think it's made me a better appraiser, but I have a problem paying for something that I completed once and
really in perpetuity.
To be able to utilize those letters. And I always like to say, and I don't care, maybe this is a soundbite, but I think I had a better year than AI did this year. So.
Oh, is there controversy going on with AI? I haven't heard anything.
But one thing I was going to mention in this when I was listening to you talk, Ernie, was for the appraiser going in when you go to the local chapter or something, it is very heavily commercial if you're residential, and a lot of experience and everything. And it isn't necessarily, I don't mean this derogatory, all wonderful people, but it's not the most warm and fuzzy environment. You go to a real estate and they're all natural networkers, but when you go to an appraisal, then it's a different type of personality. So it's not as not as warm and fuzzy. But make those connections, because I'll tell you, if you're a residential appraiser, one of your great source of business for private work are commercial appraisers.
Yeah,
and vice versa.
And they pass on stuff that they don't want to they don't want to do, but wink, wink, they also really don't know how to do it either. So.
Right.
So
yeah, you're right.
And Carlos, how much do you think you spent so far on the coursework getting the MAI?
Wow, I haven't really thought, but it's pretty up there, because so where I'm at in South Florida, the chapter, I heard it used to be very active with coursework. I have a buddy that he was able to do all his coursework here and everything. But the past, 5 to 10 years, there hasn't been a lot of activity with classes being by the South Florida chapter. So then there's the cost for the course.
Traveling.
Let's say, yeah. So then
flights, hotel.
Yeah.
So then it kind of adds up. Let's say a course is, I don't recall at the moment, but let's say it's $1,000, and you got the hotel, you got the flight, so it gets up there per course. And then those are the 4 courses, and so I would say probably conservatively, I would say at least let's say $10,000 with kind of everything.
Wow. That's a big investment. That's a big decision.
Yeah, because so it's, and then the time aspect is as well, and the opportunity cost.
You're not making money.
Yeah, but like as everyone has mentioned, it's been like it's top quality education, and you learn a lot, and I've been able to network with fellow classmates that. I have one buddy. He just got his MAI. He's in Michigan, and whenever I have, let's say, a highest and best use concern or something, I can reach out to him and he can share some guidance and stuff. So it's a great networking opportunity, the classes, and yeah.
So now let's go to what does that? Why did you get your Jack? Maybe you can help. Have you seen that your designation gets you like higher fees or better clients? What have you seen? How have you seen it pay off besides the credibility?
Well, I wouldn't renew every year if it didn't, if it didn't work for me. And I will say this: I can directly account for every year. There's a certain amount of appraisals that come in that are. I was looking for a SRA in your area that could handle this. But it's not like thousands of dollars, but it pays for itself that way for sure. But in the private world, especially in the legal world, the accountants and attorneys, they do recognize the designations, right? Maybe the person who's actually paying for the appraisal doesn't, but it really does, so indirectly, I know that I'm getting a fair amount of work because of it. And it helps, compared to, someone who doesn't mean if you're designated, you're a better appraiser, but it is something in the private legal world, financial world that is recognized by people who order appraisals and, and pay good fees too. And by the way, everyone that calls up looking for an SRA, how did you hear about it? Oh, I got you from the director. I was looking for an SRA. Ching ching.
Yeah.
Now my fee just started a little bit higher, and so it definitely pays. It definitely pays off, and I wouldn't want to not have those letters behind my name anymore because I've branded myself, and there are people that even lenders. I've approached lenders and said, hey, I understand we have a panel here. I've been trained. I've taken all kinds of courses on complex properties and situations, and I work on high-level appraisals. I says, if you ever have a complex property that you just can't get anybody to do, please call me. I'm more than happy to do it. I have superior training. I mean, I use it to my advantage. And like, for instance, I don't work for AMCs, but I have a couple AMCs that will call me up for a job, and it's at that point when I'm the only one who can do it or want to do it. It's plus. Price.
Yeah.
And I think I've been able to leverage and position that fairly effectively. And I only work for people I like to work for.
Yeah.
So I don't work for them.
I agree with you on that one. I've seen in my business when people call looking for a specific designation, I tend to see that it's kind of like the older crowd. Like when maybe before there was licensing in the state or whatever, that was the license, SRA or MAI, that was the license. So I find like a lot of old school people look for that they think is the qualified appraiser.
Yeah. And the other, a lot of these are, let's say it's somebody, it's a vice president of a bank and they happen to do some loans in the area. And, they were or a chief appraiser someplace. The chief appraiser happens to have the designation. So when they're looking for something specifically, they're automatically what's the word?
They're inclined to do
bias towards somebody who has the same designation.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my son is an Eagle Scout. He earned it, and I feel like it's the same thing. If that person hiring it was an Eagle Scout, they'll see that on the resume and automatically go to that person. Yeah. That's what made me just think of that. And Ernie, how about you? Are your fees through the roof now that you got that designation? Are you just double your income? What happened?
Tripled it.
Nice. Ernie, you're muted. We lost you, Ernie. You've been talking for 2 minutes. We haven't heard a word you're saying.
Oh
yeah, we can't hear you, Ernie.
Are you there, Ernie? That was a good conversation you had with yourself.
Talking to myself. I said, fees in Chicago are through the roof.
Oh,
and
wow.
our taxes, especially our real estate taxes, are so low. So everybody should come here. That's what no, we do see what in that conversation you guys were having, and I was talking to myself. When someone's calling looking for like a designated appraiser, you see it a lot on the commercial side, needing an MAI, and it makes sense in a lot of cases if it's something being litigated or something. But we'll get them sometimes, and it's just a basic residential property, and there'll be a real hard ass attorney on the other side, and they'll stipulate to only hiring an MAI appraiser in a simple residential situation. And they're just doing that to be a pain in the ass. And when I get calls like that, I'm like, you're not even going to find an MAI that's going to do a house, let alone a basic house there. You will not find one, especially in this area or this market. You might find one that has an appraiser that works under them, but you will not find an MAI to do that house. So they're just doing that to make it difficult. So, I don't have an MAI, nor do I need one to do that basic ranch or Chicago bungalow. It's
one of my pet peeves. One of my pet peeves with AI is this.
What's that?
One of my pet peeves that I have with AI, or disagreement, I should say, is this. The same as I was able to get a streamline towards my residential review designation because of SRA. If you're an MAI, you have a very short path to get your SRA, and it burns me that people who spend all their life doing commercial appraisals can take a course and get the same designation that I did, and that's one of the things I don't care for when you see MAI, AI-RRS, SRA, this and that. They've probably done 5 residential appraisals in their life sometimes. Right. And they got the same residential designate. I don't like it. AI, you listening? I don't like it.
I didn't know that. So that's why a lot of people have the 2 designations. It's easy if you have the MAI to get the SRA. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
All you have to do is you got to take a few of the classes. At least it was a few years ago. I don't know exactly what it is today, but it's streamlined and.
You guys know if someone's focusing on that high level of commercial work, they're not doing houses. And what we do on the house side, it's if you don't stay up with it, on the analytics side and what's necessary, it's you fall behind really fast, if you don't stay up with it. So what was your main question?
About have you seen your credibility go up, higher fees, better clients?
So we kind of, since transitioning, and I always did divorce and estate work with my mentor, but since focusing on that kind of work, it definitely gives you some credibility. Especially above the next residential appraiser that they might try and hire. One, I have a certified general license, so it's just advanced coursework and learning, and then you have a designation. It just means you took extra steps and you're serious about what you do, and that's what gets you the credibility and the respect. In the courtroom, it does too, because, I go up against SRAs. I have a certified general and I have other designations. So they don't have a superiority to me, so, there's some equal playing ground there, so it gives you that credibility in there. Someone who, and not to say, someone with a ton of residential experience in the courtroom without a designation wouldn't be credible. It's just, it gives you that high, you have that higher level of either education or the peer review or the process that kind of puts you a little step above just the regular area appraiser.
All right. So I got it. So let's just say the typical client, like an attorney or a homeowner or something, by and large, do they care about your designation? Yes.
They don't know. They don't know, but it's similar to what you see. If you ever see agents, sometimes you see an agent with like 45 designations after it. And you're like, what the hell is that ABC crap? Because most of them, we've been around a long time, and most of them you've never even heard of. So like the more and more you put, I don't know, it starts to diminish on what it actually means, or if it means anything at all at that point. But just having something after your name, and if we have a big online presence, and a description of my background and what those letters mean, and and what my background is, or what my education level is. So there might be a reason why they hire you because of that. Do they know what those are? No. But if you put it out there, like how we do, or like Jack said, he puts himself out there that way, then they understand it.
Yeah. That's the key. That's the key. Use it, describe it, use it to your advantage. If I had the Banana Republic designation, I'd find a way to, hey, I'm the only guy that's got, what I mean?
Right.
So that's, it's the way you present it. And it's like, for instance, somebody calls up and asks for an appraisal. They say, hey, I need a appraisal. And I'll say, okay. And let's say they're price shopping, which in private appraisals, you don't get price shopping. I'll say, hey, okay, here's my fee. I said, but just make sure when whoever does the appraisal, make sure they are utilizing the proper IRS valuation standards, right? The fair value. Make sure that they're doing it. Just basic information.
Yeah.
So then they're like, oh, wow, this guy really knows his stuff, and because if they're not writing it to the right standard, you got the wrong guy.
Right.
And so anybody doing appraisals know that you're supposed to, whether it's market value or fair value. But when I'm talking to somebody, I will emphasize sometimes the obvious and use it to my advantage. And I have a high conversion rate on calls in for appraisals. I had people call back, well, I got a lower fee, but I want to make sure that it's written to the right standards. So,
right, and that's your sale, that's your marketing.
Right.
So like, even if you had so many 10 designations behind your name, if you can't talk to somebody and explain something and market it means shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's exactly right. So.
And effective dates too, with that estate stuff, or, I know in your guys, in Florida with effective dates and divorces is huge.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just trying to get into the private side, or will accept a private job without understanding all the nuances of the private work. It's the best thing to explain it to them. Or what we do is, in articles I put out there and information on our website, or, if they are shopping, we say, hey, you don't hire us, fine, but, check, their license credential, if they have any designations, if they actually do private work and estate work, and if they do divorces, will they go to court for you? We just throw things like that out there to ask, so it educates them. But, whether they're looking for a cheap appraisal, or whether, they're going to hire you, yes or no, at least that you educated them,
Right. It's just being natural and explaining your job and what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. And that's, I think, the biggest conversion rate is when you do that with people and actually talk with them, instead of saying, hey, yeah, it'll be $500 and then that's
Absolutely.
it. And if you leave the conversation there, but you say, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and then, oh yeah, we need the correct definition of value, or this effective date, or I work with a lot of these clients. That's the biggest thing with this private work is that. Yeah. And then I guess the designations are just gravy on top.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And Ernie, you hit upon a wording that I use all the time too, and that is, hey, just make sure whoever you decide to, make sure they have experience working. They don't just do lender work. They need to, make sure they have someone experienced in estate appraisals, and they may not call anybody after that.
Right.
And it's obvious stuff. It reminds me of one time when I was a real estate broker. I lost a listing one time to an old lady, and I ran into her one day and said, "Hey, how come you use this person? Use this? We're just talking." She said, "Oh, I'm sorry, but this guy that came in said that he was going to take my information. He was going to put it into a system where 500 different real estate agents in the area could have access to it, so it'd have 500 agents could sell it instead of." And I learned something from that, and I applied it. And you think about that agent, hey, took something so obvious,
right,
but made it sound like it's special to me.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was
you're like,
good job on that agent. Let me tell you, that was pretty damn smart.
Not only that, it's going to go out to 5,000 platforms across the internet.
Absolutely.
And it's amazing. I'm going to push it out there. Oh, yeah, you just inputted an MLS listing. Great job.
So Dan, you're very good at you're all good at private appraisals, and you do it because you do a little bit of that when you're selling your services. You're telling them, you know, what you do, but you're not assuming they know the difference. You're putting it out there, and so the MLS stuff.
She thought you were just going to put a sign out in front, and that's it with your face on it.
Hey, I'm designated.
Wanted to share. I think that's a really good point that you guys are making. That because sometimes as an appraiser, you might think, oh, once I get the designation, then I don't have to market myself or my business or things like that. But that's a great point. That having the designation is a great marketing tool. But that doesn't replace marketing, and you still have to be able to interact with people and being able to. One thing I learned, because I did commercial real estate sales for a little bit, and one thing I learned was about providing value. Like that's so important, and definitely building up kind of more of a private practice, and like just being able to talk to clients and educate them, like use those moments of giving a quote, because usually, as you guys know, with the banks, the quote is very direct. What's the price? What's the timing? But in the private practice, we have opportunities to talk to the clients, educate the clients, and kind of, what's the like property address? Then I always try to do preliminary research and share a little bit of what I found and this and that. And that's been very helpful for me to market myself, present myself as a professional, adding value, and hopefully getting that job. So yeah.
Yeah. You know what? Actually, you know what? I think the referral network should start having a designation for like marketing, sales, and customer service. Maybe I'll come up with some designations for that.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, take a marketing class, learn sales and customer service. I think those are 3 things appraisers suck at. And
the MCS designation.
ARN.
Yep, there you go. I like it.
SRA, AI-RRS, MCS.
I've seen people put CRA after their name. Certified Residential Appraiser.
Oh
to
my
make
God.
it look like that's a designation. I don't know if they're doing it on purpose or
that is a designation, or at least it was.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, it was what I refer to as a mail order one. You know, hey, you fill out an application, you experience, and you.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, that's just initialing your license.
That's but he's selling himself. There you go. He's got that CRA.
Right.
He's marketing
that
himself.
MAI.
I feel like I don't have that CRA. So what advice do you have for other appraisers out there? Would you still pursue a designation? Ernie?
I want to share a little bit about that. So I'll give an example. I went to an appraisal, and I'm a member of my Illinois coalition, like a committee with them. And I've been a member just of the coalition for a while. And, you know, before COVID, we had tons of events in person and educational events and seminars. They were great. And since after COVID, everything's went remote for the most part. And it just kind of sucks because you don't get to do that networking that, you know, that you guys were talking about. But I went to an AI and coalition event. It was last Thursday. You know, and it was a trainee kind of event to meet mentors. It was freaking awesome. You know, I know some people there, and I have a close MAI friend we refer a lot of business through, and not through your network. But we refer them a ton, you know, and they refer us a ton too.
Sure.
But it was a great event. Like you guys were, like Jack was saying, AI has had its issues this year and its political crap that goes on, and whatever. There's a lot of great people, and if you do belong to that organization and you don't get into the politics part, there's a lot of great opportunities there for networking and great people to meet, and networking to advance your career, for you to refer to them, then to refer to you, or working relationships, and it's just a good thing to do. Regardless of, again, what's going on with the AI, I didn't see it at this event, and in the past, going to events, I didn't see issues there. Networking is an awesome thing for us to do. And like Dan said, like you said, we're not great marketers or networkers, but, to be an independent appraiser, you have to be a good business owner and be a good networker. As far as recommendations for the ASA, when I first got designated, our Chicago chapter was still kind of live or in lingo, but it's kind of been depleted. And we don't have a Chicago chapter. It's just an overall American Society of Appraisers chapter. And I went to some events early on, and I met a lot of personal property and business appraisers. And boy, are they stress-free without any regulations. They're some happy people.
Oh.
Not miserable like some of us get sometimes. Yeah. But, it was great. The problem is I don't know if it's COVID or the fact that we don't have a Chicago chapter, but I have not been invited to many events since. We haven't had much education with the ASA that is focused in Chicago like the AI does. I'm lucky if I was part of the AI because the home is here. So that they have a lot of events. The ASA hasn't. I'd be more than willing to be a part of it since I went through that process, and I use and advertise their name all over, with my name all over the internet and all over the Chicago area. But I don't have a huge benefit from them. As far as networking or people, they have just like the Institute has a huge focus with the residential. The ASA has a huge focus with personal property and business related appraisers, and their market is pretty huge with that. And it doesn't seem to be very huge with the real property side. So it's up in the air. It is a little difficult paying without having some events to attend. I mean, I have a young family, so I can't get to tons of events like I would like to, or would rather do than some of the things I do. But it's hard to say, if I would advise it. I think I'd only advise it if the ASA has a huge network in your area. If there's people, or if they have events and there's a community to network with, then I would advise it. But even though the AI has its issues, going through the process of what I know the MAI and SRA is, you'll get a lot of value out of it, and so will going networking at their events.
Yeah,
that helps.
Jack, what do you think? Your advice to appraisers out there considering it?
Well, I have my designation. I would never consider letting it go. It's great value to me. I think if you're a commercial appraiser, it's a slam dunk. I think the MAI, the return on investment, is an absolute slam dunk. That's all I need to say on that. The residentialist depends on what you're going to do. Yes, if you take the courses and you go through the process, you become a better appraiser. But if you just want to do standard, hey, if you want to be a pro at filling out, the 3.6 form, then you probably don't need to be designated. Depends on where your career is. I think if you want to be if your goal is to be like the professional in your area and you're going to network, I really do think that it's probably a good thing. So I would say, there's in politics, there's the blue states and the red states, and they say, well, I'd say it's leaning red or leaning blue or whatever. I would say, for a new person, I'm leaning, go do it. Only, but if you're looking to do, the private work, if you're just doing if you're happy with lending work, if you love the work and the lending work, then it's probably not worth it.
Got it. And Carlos, would you do it all over again, knowing what you invested in it now? And would you change anything?
I think I'm in too deep.
If you get a refund right now.
You're on the right path. It's worth it.
But I would say it's been quite a journey. I've been able to definitely learn a lot. Definitely with the mentorship that the people that I've met, and being able to grow as an appraiser, and all the kind of intricacies with appraising different unique property types and stuff. It's definitely worth it. It's been worth it for me, and definitely excited to just kind of being on this journey, and hopefully soon be able to attain the MAI. So it's definitely been a long journey, and hopefully little by little I'll be there soon.
What's your time frame?
So right now, as I mentioned about in May earlier this year, I was able to finish the demo report. So I did the capstone, so that's done. And then all I need right now are the exams. So I'm focused on that. So Lord willing, by next year, that'd be a great achievement by next year.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Is there anything else you guys want to share? I know we run really long, over an hour. So if not, I'll wrap it up here in a minute.
No, that's it. But good luck, Carlos, with your journey. It's an impressive one.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, nice to meet you, Carlos. Dan, finally good to see you face to face, even if it's electronically. And Ernie, it's always a good time. When are you going to come down to Southwest Florida again, so we can go and have another
soon? I hope.
Yeah, thanks for that invite over there while you were visiting, Ernie. I appreciate that. There was no invite. Okay. All right, so that's a wrap.
A few years ago, before we met.
So, Carlos, Jack, Ernie, thanks very much for being a guest and sharing your journey about the good, the bad, and the ugly about the designation process. At the end of the day, it's a question of whether it's worth it. Depends on your goals, your market, the kind of work you want to be doing. Some clients care a lot, others don't care about it at all, but the process definitely makes you a better appraiser. And of course, if you're serious about growing your non-lender business, don't forget to check us out at referappraisals.com. And with that, thank you, appraisers, and I'll end it right here.
Yeah, good summary.
Thanks a lot, everyone. Thanks a lot, Dan.
Alrighty.
Thanks for joining us on the Brews and Appraisal Views podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode and found some value in it, which you can apply to your appraisal business. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and leave a review. It really helps us reach more appraisers like you. For more tips and to connect with other appraisers, visit referappraisals.com. Until next time, keep brewing up success in your business, and I'll catch you on the next episode.